Calculating volumes of shapes. So before we get into an example, let's look at what the definition of volume is. In math, volume can be defined as a three-dimensional space enclosed by a boundary or occupied by an object. And dimensions are nothing more than a unit of measurement. If you take a look at my diagram, what you'll see here is a square. And a square is a two-dimensional object. Now watch what happens as I rotate around this square. Notice when I lay it flat, you can't see it. But now you can. The reason why you weren't able to see it when it was flat is because it had no height. It only had length and width. So 2 dimensions will give you area. 3 dimensions will give you volume. Now let's take a look at what volume actually is. Now it's laying flat. Now remember, now it has height. Once you give it height, now we're talking about volume in a 3-dimensional object. So the best way to learn volume is to understand area first. So let's begin by looking at the yellow square to the left. All right, let's move it down, and let's say it had a length of 5 inches. And since it's a square, its width would also be 5 inches. Now, if we were to find the area, that would be length times width, which would give me a result of 5 inches times the other 5 inches, and that gives me 25 inches squared. So very important, to find the volume of this cube, what you'll want to make sure you multiply is the area times the height. So the good thing about this is we already found the area earlier, and the area was 25 inches squared. 25 inches squared. The only thing that we have to do is multiply it times the height, which is up here, and that's also 5 inches. So we have 25 inches squared, and then we multiply it by 5 inches, and that should give us a total of 125 inches cubed. So that's your basics on how to find volume of an object that has a length, a width, and a height. So what about finding volumes of other shapes? So on your screen right now is a circle. This circle has a diameter of 5.1 units. Now, if I were to rotate it just a little bit and give it some height, I can create like a cone if it meets at that one point at the top. Now, let's say it has a height of 12.4 units. How would we find the volume of this shape? So to find the volume of a right circular cone, you must multiply the area times the height and then divide that answer by 3. So to find the area of a circle, you have to use the area formula, which is pi times r to the second power. Now, pi is equivalent to or approximately equal to about 3.14. Now, the r is half of your diameter. So in other words, if we have a diameter that is equal to 5.1, divide that by 2, 5.1 divided by 2, that should give you a 2.55, and now that is your radius. Your radius is when you split your diameter in half. So let's go ahead and fill in this with the 2.55. And then you just multiply it all out. And since we are rounding to the tenths place, if you multiply 2.55 times 2.55, you'll get right at 6.5. And you can multiply the 6.5 times the 3.14. And that will give you 20.41. Now, what we just found was the area. All right, we found the area. So just as I stated before, to find the volume of a right circular cone, you have to multiply the area, which we just found. The area is 20.41, and we have to multiply that times the height. And the height is given there, which is 12.4. So we multiply that times 12.4. And when we finish, you divide that answer by 3. And that will give you your volume of a right circular cone. So after multiplying both of my numbers and dividing by 3, the volume comes out to be roughly 84.4 units cubed. So a quick recap over volume formulas. So if I were to try to find the area of this, and I knew it had a length of 5 and a width of 3, but then it has a height of 4, I will first start with my area, which is length times width. So the area is 3 times 5, which is 15. To find the volume, I would just take my area and multiply it times height. So in other words, I'll take the 15 and multiply it times 4, and that will give me 60 units cubed. That's how we find the volume. Volume is area times height. Now for the shapes that are a little bit more difficult, like the cone, we have to first find the area of the circle, which is pi r squared. And remember, r is when you take the diameter and divide it by 2. So if this one has a diameter all the way across, and let's say that diameter is 10, then that means r must be 5, right? If diameter is equal to 10, then 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. That's my radius. So I can take the 5 and put it right there, and now I can multiply 5 to the second power, which is 5 times 5. I get 25 times pi, also known as 25 times 3.14. This will give me a total of 78.5, only if we were focusing on the area, right? But remember, volume is when you take the area times the height, but when you're doing a cone, you have to divide that final number by 3. All right, so only when you do the cone. So if the cone has a height of, I don't know, I'm just making up a number, 4, then that means I would have to take 78.5, multiply it times 4, and then when I'm finished, divide that number by 3, and that will give me my final volume for the right circular cone. In this example in particular will be around, let's see, 104.7 units cubed. And that's how we find volume of a right circular cone. So finding volumes is not hard. It is mostly multiplication. Volume of a right circular cone still involves multiplying area times height. Just remember to divide by 3.